All right, family, what it do, what it do, what it do. A good afternoon to you on a Sunday. A Sunday afternoon, right? We're at 27th of April. Let me just do this because I did not do this. Make sure that we kill the sound there so we're not hearing a whole lot of buzzing going on from the audio source we're using. Family, what's going on? Welcome in us who are the almost 1,200 plus strong. Again, as we always say, right? As it used to be said in the song, like we always do at this time, right? At this time in the podcast. Thank you, family, for your support. This thing does not work. Podcasts do not work without the listener. And as always, I am no different. Family, thank you for your support, right? We are almost, those of us here who are the almost 1,200 plus strong, who believe in, who love after, who have fun with, who seek for, who are aware of, who are conscious of, and have perspective in hunger and thirst for that which is a different view. Family, welcome in. Today is going to be short. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be a reaction to two different things that have happened in life today. One is an admonishment. It's been a minute since your boy has dealt with admonishment per se. Again, warning, right? This is a warning and again, a review of a movie that my wife and I, shout out to you, honey, for going with me to go see this movie, right? Sinners, right, family? Those of us who've seen it, we're going to try to keep it spoiler-free for folks, but we're going to talk about some scenario here in light of me seeing this movie, right? Number one, before we get started, you can find this podcast here for those who are new, right? And those who have already known, so be it. Like, share, and subscribe. Something touches your heart, share it, right? Jesus hit the woman in the well. Since it's Sunday, we're going to have a little bit freer of a Christian conversation, right? Because your boy is Christian here. Jesus hit the woman of the well, meeting that Samaritan woman. The good news happened in her life, although he was, strict with her on her life. How many of us, right, have gone through a thing where we had someone strict with us, but it changed our lives, and we went and told other people about it, and they came on down to see what it was, right? Of course, we always talk about the Good Samaritan over here. We talk about the prodigal son over here. Those are two impactful stories to me. We talk about the two sons over here, another powerful story. Family, how we got to operate in this world. The first topic that we're going to talk about is Mr. Shannon Sharpe. I do not have my computer in front of me. We're just going off the top here. But when you look on RAIN's website, again, we had talked about the acronym RAINN. National Network are the last two N's. The three other letters are rape, abuse, and incest. Right? We do not say these things as a trigger for people. We apologize. But we have to talk straight to the issue. Dancing around these things does not help. Right? Especially when you get into therapy and things of this nature. It's something that we have to do, family. Dancing around it will not help. We gotta go get it. Right? We gotta go get it. Get in where you fit in is how they say it in the hood, family, okay? We got to get in. Jump in the water. That's another one of these miracles, right? You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And in the case of what we were talking about last time, we were speaking with this Washington bill they're trying to pass in Washington State to be able to help black folks get homes and get about the ghetto and get about these Section 8 apartments and all this other kind of mess, y'all. Hey, you don't want your cut, you think it's a handout, I'll take it, right? They'll have a hand in my advancement, okay? Again, as black folks, because again, a lot of this conversation we're going to have is about black folks. It goes around other topics as well, other people groups, right? But primarily to the black man and woman. So pass this around, those of you who know, friends of, cousin to, or whatever, right? Those who are the dark and brown skin tone folks, listen in real good on this one. Understand, family, we've got to know ourselves. The word perspective, right? What do you see? Which is probably what we're going to name this podcast. What do you see, family? Right? Because both in the movie Sinners and in Shannon Sharpe's case, what do you see? How do you see yourself? How do you see others? Words like point of view are some of the synonyms of phrases and words that are along with the term perspective. The etymology of it means to see through. Discernment is another one of these things that comes up, family. So, again, another way of saying it is reading the room. That's one of the ways of just kind of basically breaking it down, right? To not be too spooky with it and all that kind of thing. Family, how well are we how well are we versed at reading the room? Shannon Sharpe, brother, we hope you learned something from these things, as us all do. Learn from the errors that we have in life, whether people believe that it is a cooked up scheme because the brother has money, or whether he really did this to this woman. Because this is, and I mentioned this thing about rain, it goes into a lot, it goes, we had talked last time, right? How sexual abuse occurs every 68 seconds. Again, this is just from this website. There's other places where you can go and do studies and all that kind of thing, right? Talk to people in your own family and stuff, you'll find out a whole lot of interesting information. One of the things that they show up on their website, I want to say is like 50 some odd percent. It's a high number. It's above where it should be. Where most of the abuse that happens with either people you know or right in around the places where you live, like in your home. Unfortunately, we're seeing Stephanie McMahon back in WWE. We just had that conversation a little while ago, talking about WrestleMania, as I am a wrestling fan, right? But where the wrong is, we got to talk about it, family. Excuse me. Just because I'm a wrestling fan don't mean we don't pass a blind eye to things. Stuff that happened to Chris Benoit, mess did Hulk Hogan do, mess did Ric Flair do, stuff that Scott Hall got into, a.k.a. Razor Ramon. We have conversations, family. Same thing in sports. Don't let these people have a pass, and it's the same thing with the owners. That's why for y'all mad at the draft or whatever these teams did. Again, save some of that money. Don't go to the games this year. I'm just being serious. Put that money back in your pocket. They got these PSL licenses and all this mess for them owners to make money. The ones that ain't is the fans. And you got to sit there and watch these teams fumble over themselves. Ain't no need to take some time to take up a different hobby in your life. This ain't nothing against sports. We're just saying what it is, family, right? And when we speak on Shannon Sharpe, some of these articles in this lawsuit that's coming up against his brother, of which he's had a few run-ins, we'll say it that way, with this issue of abuse with women. We understand the brother's 56. We understand that he is a Hall of Fame tight end, football player, right? Played with the Broncos, played with the Ravens. We get it. Okay. I believe he also won a Super Bowl champion. So a Super Bowl champion, all that kind of. He's won a championship. We get that. We don't take away from the brother's accolades. No different than you look at stories in the Bible where there's nothing taken away from the accolades, but at the same time, man, what wrong is, wrong is. Adam and Eve were the first people in the garden, the copy, right, of humans. Again, when you're talking from Jewish belief, right, Abrahamic faith, so on and so forth, because again, Christians are believing if they're grafted into those. I'm just saying what it is, right? Christians act like too much the humility is not there. And while there are verses in the Bible here, there is now no Jew, Gentile, and so on and so forth, right? Slave, we talk about that a lot on this podcast. At the same time, a level of humility, right? Kendrick Lamar said it best, be humble. Sit down, right? Understand that there's a level of humility that has to come with this. We are grafted in. By grace are we saved. So, not of our works. See, it's not of or consisting or generated by your works. It's a gift given. Much like in life with our kids, man. And we make our kids, as we come up on Mother's and Father's Day, we make our kids do sacrificial type mess. You might not be sacrificing them on an altar, but we sacrifice them in come on, somebody. Anyway, Shannon Sharpe, brother, you 56. You got the top radio top radio deal. You got your podcast. We all on Club Shay Shay, man. We watching you breaking the game down with Cat Williams and Monique and all these different people that you've had on your show, brother. And then what you do, this is not against anybody, right? But now what you do is you sexual impropriety. And to make a correction here, when we talk on the character, the woman who lived this, she's not a character. It's not like a made up thing. While people do that mess about critical race theory, this really happened, right? The woman I mentioned, Mary, last time we were speaking, Mary Turner is her name. A horrible, graphic way that woman died standing up for right. Now, while we were talking about that, I mentioned that her owners, had some impropriety with the women slaves there. When you look back in the story, again, we like to check ourselves, family, okay? And catch me napping over here. Again, we like for people to come in, comment. We've had a comment or two here already. Thank y'all for your comment. Again, these things drive the machine. It's able by which we can have conversation, family, right? On top of the things that we find in life, we can have conversations with each other. We've been blessed with the ability to converse, right? Conversate, so on and so forth. At the same time, though, of course, always respectfully, right? In decency and in order. This raw way where we start slinging name calling and all that mess is uncivilized. Okay. When you talk about operating out your lower self, yeah, you're at that point when you're in a conversation like that. Okay. Shannon Sharpe, brother, what are we doing? This ain't nothing against that this woman was 20 years old. This is another thing that comes out. Again, we're talking now on sex and sexual relationships, okay? This age thing, again, while there's an affinity, right? The word relationship deals with an affinity. How much of an affinity are you going to have with a 20-year-old? Other than the fact that you're older, wanting to feel some young goodness, right? Just to keep it blunt. Other than that part of it, what else is there that you and again, to each one, different strokes for different folks, as they say, right? But understand that no means no. No means no, family, boy and girl. Of course, we know, as we've talked about the study that's been done as far as domestic abuse is concerned, and out here, right, or out in the great state of Oklahoma, right, and we also talked about out there in Kansas, in the middle of the country, women are getting abused at a bad rate. Okay, that's not to say that the men aren't, because they are. Again, a lot of defenses in the mind we use to kind of not do a thing. There's a certain code of conduct, family. That when you see that word, that's for real. That does not mean we don't have no fun. And we have talked on this podcast at length about where the do's are. Because a lot of people will keep telling you what the don'ts is. But where is the do's? You're talking your good voice like they talked in this movie, Sinners, man. And we gonna get to it. We ain't forgot about to give my reaction on that, right? We just got to talk about Shannon Sharpe for a minute, family. Watch your relationships with people. Listen, when you get sexually involved, again, we are talking outside of this thing where people abstain. Everybody does not abstain. If you're not going to abstain, there are a couple of things that we talk about, we have seen from life on this podcast, family. If you are going to deal, number one, do not pass disease. That when you look at the word lasciviousness, fornication, there's a couple of like raunchy deals with this. There's a couple of these other words, right, that deals with this. We're talking about passing diseases. Let's do it safe, family. That's real. I know a lot of daddies and some do. Some uncles and grandpapas, they sit their kids down and they talk like this. Some don't, right? Again, to each their own. No diseases. This is one of these things I've found. No unwanted children. I don't know how many times we got to hear the heart break when you listen to the child as they get older talk about wives and all that. Whew, Jesus, right? No unwanted children, brothers, right? There's a term out there. Tender member, we're going to say it that way. There's another way that you can say it, especially when you look it up on urban dictionary. They don't use the word member. They use another word for the male principle, as they say, right? The male genitalia. Being a tender member, we're going to say it that way, where you quick to we fall in love with the woman, or again, as we deal with homosexuality here, or the man, right? You're quick to that, okay? And as a result, let's have this baby together and all this kind of thing. Family, if you are not in a place, again, it's not to say anybody is ever in a place. Sometimes, I heard a message on this years ago. Like sometimes you just gotta you gotta hop on in, okay? But again, as you do this with some wisdom, you better know y'all's relationship is that locked tight because that child is dependent upon you. Them late nights when they crying, they got nightmares, when they're sick, right? As they get older, support financially. They need us. This BS mess that has come out where you're supposed to kick that child out at 18, I don't know where, I don't know who. This is what we talk about with older people. Some of these older practices, man, that water is tainted. The family got to stay there. See, we know there was a high attack on the family back in the day, man. We talking about implantation days and all that kind of stuff. Again, what the movie Sinners deals with. We understand all types of stuff with this, okay? But you kicking your kid out to the streets, man, they ain't doing nothing. But you might as well build you the best gallows in the back of your house. I'm being for real, family. Get you a good rope, right? Finish off what Abraham didn't do to Isaac, since this is a Sunday message. And you kill because that is what you're signing them up for. They need your guidance. They need your wisdom. Even if they're kicking and screaming, family, it ain't no different than when they were 6, 7, 8, 9. You still giving them that wisdom. Life might be giving them that whooping at that point. Might not be you. Although I remember my mama, shout out Mrs. J one time, man. She told me, I'll stand in the chair and whip your ass. Man, I know it. And we know a lot of different parents from different ethnicities, man. They don't have a problem. They won't have a problem. But it keeps people in line, family. There's a code of conduct. So now when you're with that young lady and y'all want to be freaking, okay? No means no. They don't want to do it, you don't do it. A level of discernment and understand what's going on. You might be high rolling. Shannon Sharpe high rolling out there. You leave him alone. You better leave him alone. These folks coming up to you, shining in your face. The OJs done already told you, they're backstabbers. This is not to say this woman is a backstabber, okay? So before people start going there, we talking about that happens in life, though. People is backstabbers. This happens whether you got the bag and got a lot of money, as they say, or if you don't. It's a level of discernment, and we can be friends, we can be cordial with people, we can love on folks without being their doormat, man, right? We hope for all that's involved in this thing that they get therapy and they get, because again, sexual abuse is sexual abuse, family, right? Brother, they ain't, no means no. We're not threatening with recordings. We're not, and this, again, it's like gang-like activity that we take into the bedroom, man. Again, it's even when you're married, Married women sit there and talk to you. Married men, listen, no means, whatever they told you in them scriptures, man, they misinterpreted it. Because you married don't mean that's the time to drop them panties and them drawers and get it going when I say so. That's no. This is mutual. No different than when y'all met each other. It was mutual. One was brought to the other. Y'all were brought to each other. In all honesty, when you're really looking at it, if God brought the woman to the man, there is a level where that man is also brought to that woman. See, again, we on a team. And when we miss the team dynamic, that damn thing goes right down the toilet. It goes right down the toilet every time. Normally ends with the man telling God about that woman. And when we say God, you can replace out that which God has made, which is other humans. It normally ends with a man. Oh, Lord, help us. It normally ends with a man telling another man about how no good that woman is. But you pick that woman, though. We normally get into this conversation. This is not giving a pass to women. Come on now. Let's think higher than that. We're all responsible for what we're doing. But again, if we're going to be that man of the house, it's time to take up that man of the house responsibility. And these people, regardless of the skin tone they have to be people of high content, man. High moral content. That's what it is. It all look different. Some get down in different ways, and we're not talking against that. But again, family, on this podcast, no means no. All right. On to Sinners. Great movie. Should not be 99%. It should not be 98% at where it sits at right now. Not when you got Captain America that low. We're talking about movies about black culture. Surrounded by, because again, Haley Steinfeld's in the movie, right? You got a couple Asian cats in this movie, right? All of them did great work, great acting, okay? Michael B. Jordan, great actor, man. It was cool for him to be able to play two parts. We know everything was cool. Ryan Coogler, shout out to you, brother. We understand Black Panther 1, Wakanda forever. Okay, we get it. This vampire thing, family, was not needed in this movie. We understand the content, the context in which you're doing with this character, because the vampire is the bloodsucker. Do we know any bloodsuckers around us today? When you're talking about the black man and woman, do we know any family? Okay, so we get that from that standpoint. But once the vampire element comes out in this movie, man, it gets a little. Get a little weird. That's all. It gets a little weird. Could they have told the story a different way? I don't think it would have been received well by people. See, it's easier for folks to have a song and dance around how bad they are to each other than for you to just tell the story about how bad they are to each other. So we got to do mythical creatures like vampires and all this other type of stuff, or even with the Frankenstein movie or the Wolfman movie, right? Where the inherent evil in people comes out in the most horrible of ways. I think it's better to just say King Leopold sent missionaries to basically brainwash and attack mentally people over in the Congo, then send his army and soldiers in to make them harvest rubber for him. And when they didn't, after horrible work conditions they were provided to work in, he then cut off their hands. I don't need and then to make more fun of it, that you make money off of it by calling them Belgium hands, and we start, no, that's not what it is, KJ, come on, you always saying that, blah, 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 blah. It's easier to say it that way than for me to bring in, I don't know, like some zombie vampire-like characters to express that story. So they are down south. We know about this. We know about the South family. Again, as we say on this podcast, they had the right idea by separating away from this union mess. They did it the wrong way, right? As a result, you seeing the cotton, you seeing them picking, you seeing it, right? No different than you see in these trailers, right? A lot of stuff is going on, family. Again, it's a good movie to go see. Don't get me wrong. But again, you're watching the Captain America, same kind of idea, right? President Ross, whether it's Harrison Ford or whoever. Again, William Hurt, rest in peace, sir. But again, right, at the end of the day, with the government acting foul and funky, and somebody got to come save the day. I thought the idea in this movie centers of this whole, let me in kind of thing is very impactful, because family, don't nobody have no control over your life unless you let them into it. And like I had heard, like my mom used to tell me, I'm assuming an African proverb, once you got your head in that lion's mouth, you got to wiggle that thing out. You don't snatch it out. Shout out to our parents, man, giving us that good wisdom, that good game. You got to wiggle your way out. Making these sudden movements, your head is gone. Okay. Oh man, in the case of Shannon Sharpe, brother, you made some sudden movements, sir. You gonna have to take the L. He's already resigned. Or whether they fired him, either or. Right? This is what it is, family. You pay the price for your impropriety, for doing wrong. Which is why we got to look at the places now. Again, Ephesians talks about the eyes, Ephesians chapter 1:18. Opening the eyes of your understanding, being enlightened. For those who want to sit here and talk about what your Buddhist and Hinduist brother ain't talking about, we talking to ancient faiths. So when you go back in time and look at the ancient faiths, it's ironic how similar they look. We're not down in none of them here. Although I'm a Christian and it's the tenets that I follow, so on and so forth, okay? And it's the parts that I believe in. Again, we have looked, family, at the thing. This is not as different as you think. On a great many of these things, said different ways, all that type of stuff. Your eyes need to be enlightened, family, for you to have the proper perspective to see life. The discernment to see what's around you. You got to relook at the game. Relook at the game. The thing is meant to do something a certain way. It's not happening by happenstance. This is why when it comes to luck, I've never really had this chance to talk about luck. Things really aren't happening by chance, family. That's when you look at the word luck, that's what it deals with. It was funny, an old preacher put me on game on that a long time ago. and the more that I keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it and keep thinking, yeah, things are not done by chance, family. We're putting in that work and that effort and it's happening, or it's not. So again, good movie. Go see it. You know, again, it's got the horror and the gore and the vampire thing to it. Okay. It was weird to see Haley Steinfeld, if I'm saying her name right, my apologies if I'm not, sis, as a vampire, because we know she is Hawkeye in going forward with the Young Avengers and in Marvel Comics. So it was weird seeing that visual. I guess if you had like a Marvel zombie type thing, and Hawkeye is, you know, she becomes a Marvel zombie, they ever do that in real life, she'll do well because she's already looked like it in this movie. Again, old Eric Killmonger, right? T'Challa's mortal enemy from Black Panther 1. Michael B. Jordan did you know, Apollo Creed's kid. He did well. He did well. Again, I just think the things that they use with the vampires that already brought out an element that you wind up seeing in this movie anyway. They could have just cut the middleman out. But again, it dulls the senses so that you can receive how bad people are to folks by doing the mythical vampire element. So, I mean, that's what I got for y'all today, family. Again, let us be encouraged looking at proper perspective, man. Re-look at the game. It does not hurt. It does not. Look again, right? That was a miracle Jesus did with somebody who was blinded, right? And he saw and he really couldn't see after the first treatment, say it that way. On the second treatment, Christ told this blind man to look again. We got to look again in certain translations of the Bible. That's how it says it, to look again. We got to relook at the thing, family. Because everything that you have been taught is not 100. It's like 95.5. And that 4.5% is real big that we need to relook at. So that's what I got for y'all today, family. Thank you for walking this road with me. And as always, and until next time, look to find the beauty in a different view.